Okay, I think we're live streaming, but can someone just check?
Yeah, I'll just check right now. Okay, Mayor Cote, looks like we are live. So let me just check here. Yeah, I think we're live, so you can go ahead and we can start the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mike, and good morning, everyone.
We're live streaming, but can someone just...
Yeah, Gemma, we're going to start. Looks good.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order our mayor's. Are we getting some feedback?
Yeah.
Mike, your mic was open and it was just picking up on the live stream.
Yeah, it's fixed now.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
No, I'm. You better believe, like I'm just. My mind is.
Okay, I gotta try again. I gotta call to order the Mayor's Council meeting. Welcome and good morning, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that this
mic was open and it was just.
This meeting is taking place on the traditional territories and unceded territories of the Halkamilam, Semiahmoo, and Squamish-speaking people. These language groups refer to the Indigenous groups more widely encompass the many nations who continue to use the lands in whose territories Translink works and operates on. So welcome everyone here today. We'll start just with an adoption of our agenda this morning.
Move. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And we're going to move to item 1.2, which is adoption of our minutes from our December 3rd meeting. If I can get a motion to approve.
Moved.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And now we need approval of our joint meeting minutes from January 27th.
Move.
Option.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we're now on to our public delegations. We do have one delegate with us here this morning. We have Christine Cunningham, and maybe Mike, if you can get that set up so we can hear our delegate.
Sure, thank you, Chair. Christine, we've just added you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
You can. You're live. I'll just turn it back to Mayor Cote to get it going.
Yeah, welcome, Christine, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Worships. I am speaking to you today in my personal capacity as a member of the Forest Grove Transportation Task Force, a group that represents the views of the majority of Forest Grove residents. Our submission consists of our letter to you dated February 23, 2022, our map, and the copy of our letter to Burnaby City Council dated January 30th, 2022, referred to in our submission letter to you. I propose to use our 3 minutes to go over our map that you will find at the end of our letter. Please turn to the map. As you will be able to see, our community is located within and to the east of the Burnaby 200 Conservation Area, above the number 145 on your map. The area shaded in light green above our community is the Burnaby Mountain Conservation Area. Contrary to what Translink maps suggest, the Burnaby Mountain Conservation Area ends at the ring road that encircles SFU and University. The BMCA is at risk of urban encroachment. Translink would have you believe that transportation to SFU was in crisis pre-pandemic and in future is going to get significantly worse. Publicly, it has said that a gondola is necessary to alleviate the burden of 25,000 trips per day to SFU. But let's look at the facts as they were pre-pandemic in 2019. The map in front of you shows the average number of weekday boardings on the 5 routes that have a terminus at SFU. Note that only 2 routes are located on the southeast slope of Burnaby Mountain, the area where the proposed gondola would go. Average weekday boardings are calculated by automatic passenger count. Each time a person gets on a bus traveling in either direction along a route, that is counted as 1 boarding. Let's look at the 145 route that accesses SFU via Gallardi Way. Average daily weekday boardings were 7,270 in 2019. If we were to assume that each person traveled up to SFU and came back down again, that would mean that there were 3,635 round trips per day on the 145 route. 3,635 doesn't sound so bad compared to 25,000 trips a day. In fact, in 2019, the 145 route was not even in the top 10 busiest routes in the Translink system. It was ranked 42nd busiest. Our written material refers to a number of variables that may affect future transportation demand on the southeast slope of Burnaby Mountain. We believe that those variables should be properly analyzed and that Translink should be required to present options to you that make use of the existing road network, some examples of which we refer to in our written submission. We believe that an urban gondola will be harmful for our community and the two conservation areas you see on the map. We believe that currently bus service along the 145 route is adequate and that there are good road-based solutions possible to address future needs that may arise. We hope you will read our full written submission and consider the asks at the end of our letter to you. Thank you for hearing us.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning, Christine. And I know a lot of work has gone into this proposed project up to this point in engagement, but there will be a lot more as the project gets further analyzed. And really appreciate you sharing the perspective of the local neighborhood that would be impacted. And as the Mayor's Council continues to consider this, along with many of our other priorities, no doubt we'll be evaluating all of the issues and challenges and opportunities for our transit system. But really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us this morning. And we're hoping as we work into our new vision process that we'll have opportunities to engage in the public in terms of the priorities in the region. And I think that'll be a good opportunity for all of our communities to really have some input in the future transit priorities in our region. So thank you, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Worships. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to move to item 3.1 on the agenda, which is the CEO report, and I'm going to pass it off to Kevin Quinn.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. Today in my management report, I'll give a brief update on ridership and also provide an update on our 2022 finances, including relief funding. Next slide, please. So just to start off, I want to provide an update on ridership recovery. We did see a drop in ridership in early January due to extreme weather that we had, and of course, the Omicron variant. COVID restrictions and winter weather were certainly some uncontrollable factors that contributed to this lower ridership. But I do want to note that we were not the only ones experiencing this drop. We've talked to peer agencies and looked at data that have really suggested that, not surprisingly, the Omicron variant really led to a drop in transit ridership really worldwide. Still, that said, almost 1 million people, over 1/3 of the region's population, used transit at least once in January. And we know that these people are frontline workers, their students, their families who all rely on our service. Next slide, please. As COVID case counts have really started to decline, I'm really pleased to report that our week-over-week ridership has slowly rebounded throughout February. Our system-wide boardings are now at 64.5% of pre-COVID levels. That's up from about 57% at the end of January, so a really nice increase there. That's actually a total of 5.5 million boardings. That averages about 285,000 people using transit on an average weekday. And over this past Family Day weekend, our system-wide boardings actually jumped to 72.5% of pre-COVID levels. So really jumping over that 70% mark. So with lower COVID case counts, some of these relaxed public health orders that we're all seeing really resulting in a gradual return to the workplace and increased kind of recreation out and about. I'm really pleased to share that this was actually one of our highest weeks of ridership since March of 2020, which I think we can all say is a really encouraging trend going in the right direction. Of course, for our part, we're continuing to focus on our commitment to safety and ensuring our customers are really welcomed in their return to transit by allocating service in response to demand and really doing everything we can to reduce overcrowding conditions where those are popping up. And so this means we're maintaining our policy on masks, regularly disinfecting and cleaning across the network as well. Next slide, please. So just a transition here to talk about our financial position. So as many of you remember, in September of 2020, Translink received one-time funding of $644 million under the federal provincial Safe Restart Agreement. And this funding not only helped keep service levels throughout the pandemic, but also helped keep fares affordable. So currently our transit revenues are sitting at 17% below budget for the month of January. That translates to about $7 million. Now, we fully expect these numbers to improve in the coming months as the economy opens up and we see those health restrictions start to ease and loosen up a bit. As you know, in January with you, the Mayor's Council, and in alignment with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, we advocated the Government of Canada to extend emergency funding for Translink to help cover the expected revenue losses, both in the short term and the long term, really given the uncertainty of future impacts. And last Thursday, the federal government did announce $750 million in nationwide funding to tackle public transit operating shortfalls, with the provinces and territories expected to match these funds. So I want to note this is clearly in direct response to advocacy from you and our local representatives. And so I want to personally thank you for calling for this support. This funding is, of course, welcome news and helps us address our immediate challenges. We're continuing to work with the province to understand what this funding will mean for Translink, but given the revenue losses we're facing in a worst case scenario, we know we still have a lot more work to do to come up with a sustainable long-term solution to our pandemic recovery challenges. And there's no doubt that the pandemic has created structural impacts on transit use. So right now, our biggest priorities are maintaining transit service levels as we continue to recover from COVID and the lost revenue, while also planning for the next decade of transportation investments. And we're also working with stakeholders on additional revenue sources where we can. Next slide, please. So all that said, without a long-term funding solution, we may need to consider difficult decisions in the future. And this could result in a range of impacts: reduction of service levels, delaying or outright cancellation of capital projects, or stalling expansion of much needed service that we know this region needs. So I want to be really clear about this. We have to keep the conversation going about long-term funding solutions. We all know that a thriving public transit system is a net win for the region. It makes the region more livable, more affordable. It's really fundamental in addressing the climate emergency, all goals that I know we share. But quite frankly, we simply can't deliver this without a long-term, secure, and stable funding source. So with that, I look forward to working with you all, really keeping the dialogue open with all levels of government to address our short and long-term challenges. And with that, I want to thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Kevin. Really appreciate that presentation, and I think there is some reason for optimism around this group. The transit numbers are trending back in the right direction, and I know I've been on transit a few times over the last week, and it's definitely seeming busier. So I think we're seeing the life come back, and we don't know where the pandemic is going to take us, but knock on wood, we're going to be able to see our way through that this year, which I think will have a huge impact on the financial sustainability challenges that we faced. We also did receive news this past week of some additional federal support, and provincial support, which is welcome for us to be able to work through that. Having said that, I think Kevin clearly articulated that we're not through the woods yet, and we continue to face some challenges getting through this COVID period and the financial instability that's created, and challenges in getting back on track with I know the vision we all want to work towards, our bold vision for improving public transit in the region and addressing big issues like climate change. We know our public transit system is a big component of that there. So really appreciate the update. I'd like to open it up if there's any questions or comments from any of my colleagues around the mayors. I'm not seeing any hands, so I'll look for a motion just to receive the CEO's report.
Move. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? And it's carried. Okay, with that, our next meeting, open public meeting, is on March 31st. We will look for a motion to adjourn the public meeting. We do have an additional closed meeting there, but if I can get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, I don't believe we've really earned ourselves a break at this point, but maybe if Mike, you can give me an indication when we're good to go to